Here's an interview from one of our past shows on Rock and Metal Revival. If you're interested in hearing full shows, go to our Facebook page and check out our list of affiliates for times and places where you can hear Rock and Metal Revival. From the album Symbol of Salvation, there's one of my favorite songs from Armored Saint called Droppin' Like Flies. Hard to believe that album is celebrating its 30th anniversary, and coming out on October 22nd will be Symbol of Salvation Live. And with us today is Armored Saint lead vocalist John Bush. Welcome back to Rock and Metal Revival, John.
What's up, Greg? Thanks for having me, man. I'm always honored to be on here and chatting with you.
It's, you know what, I've been a big Armored Saint fan for a long time, and when I heard that Symbol of Salvation was turning 30 years this year, it's hard for me to believe, because I still listen to that album probably on a weekly basis today. I mean, it has really stood the test of time.
Yeah, it's a great record. I mean, it's kind of like our cornerstone album, and the cool thing about it was that when we went out and did this live in its entirety tour a couple years now back, it really rang true as to how good and how diverse it was, because we played it every night, and going through the songs and going through the set list, it just made it clear that it's a real special album. So now we're putting out live. The DVD is real fun and cool, and there's some funny banter that I have in between certain songs. Well, I think it's funny. Hopefully others will find it amusing and informative. And it's a cool record. It's a cool record. We're real excited. And DVD, that is, coming out here.
Well, now, John, back in the day, it was quite a journey to get this album out to people. I mean, being in the Midwest, seems like we always got stuff last. You guys fought like hell to get this album out there before eventually signing with that record deal with Metal Blade, right?
Well, what happened is we got, little history is, we got dropped from Chrysalis after making our first three albums in like 1988. And around that time we got dropped from our label, and that always, that's not uplifting for the self-esteem, but it happens to a lot of bands. So that kind of just puts you in a position to question, what you're made of. So you dig deep, and we did, and we started writing songs. And unfortunately, at that time, we also found out that Dave Pritchard, our main guitar player, was diagnosed with having leukemia. So that was a major, just a slug in the face, and it really created a lot of concern, not only about his life, most importantly, and his future of his life, but also the future of the band. But what we did is, Dave was this amazing human being, and he just he had a zest for life, and that's what he instilled in us. And so we trudged on, and we what we knew we could do is we could write songs and make music, and that was the thing that we could control, and so we did, and that's what we wrote, all these songs that eventually were the Symbol of Salvation tunes, and there was some more, which because there's some bonus tracks on this live thing too on the LP, and those were some of the tracks that didn't make it. But we wrote a boatload of songs, and we just we really pushed ourselves emotionally to hit another level, and I think we did that. And Dave unfortunately lost his battle with leukemia in 1990 after going through a bone marrow transplant, which was the only thing that he could have done to try to eradicate it from his body. And he did, and it didn't take, and he didn't make it, and it was devastating stuff. But we did everything we could to keep him alive, and he moved forward as a human being, and it was a whole new experience to have him being not making it alive, and we just held on to all our support and beliefs and everything that we felt like Armored Saint meant, and we kind of regrouped as a band with Phil and Jeff, who were originally in Armored Saint at different times, and we pushed forward, and boom, we made Symbol of Salvation, which, like I said, at this point is like one of our cornerstone albums.
So John, no, a lot of bands have been going out and doing anniversary tours, with debut albums or the albums that broke them. What led to the idea of you guys doing a live CD, DVD of Symbol of Salvation?
Well, I think, like I said, that was, I think, the one thing that was kind of missing from our catalog. We had a couple bootleg DVDs that we put out at different times in the 80s and early 90s, of people filming shows and songs. But we never really did one where it was professionally done, where we had like a real camera crew and, well, the lighting ended up being something that I think was not quite up to our level from the show in New York. But what we did, which was really cool, is we decided instead of having it in color, we changed it to black and white. And I think that added a whole nother cool element to the performance. And that being said, we kind of knew that we wanted this concert from front to back. It would have been great to kind of encompass some other songs from the catalog, but the tour that we did was the Symbol of Salvation in its entirety. So it made sense for that to be the DVD. And we always intended to do it. We filmed a lot of shows. We did the audio for many, many shows, including in Europe as well. And it just turns out the New York show was the one that we thought was the most fluid from front to back. So that's where it is from. There's a couple bits and pieces from other shows, but it's really primarily that New York show from the Gramercy Theater.
And it is a great show. I got the chance. I was fortunate enough to get to see it last week, and I just loved it, being an Armored Saint fan. And one of the things that I've always loved about Armored Saint when you guys came out in the 80s is that you guys really couldn't be lumped in as a thrash band, and you're sure as hell weren't a hair band. I think what me and my friends always loved about Armored Saint was you guys were just a killer heart rock band with a deep, loyal fan base. And does that resonate with you too?
I think that's right on the money. We actually, I always joke that sometimes in the 80s we had a little bit of an inferiority complex because we weren't that. We were a powerful, heavy band, and we could write songs like Madhouse, March of the Saint, that kind of had elements of thrash, if you will, but we weren't only that. And then we had hair. Well, I don't anymore, but some guys still do. We had a lot of hair in the 80s, and we were from L.A., where a lot of bands came out of that were from that kind of that scene. But we had some ballady type tunes, but we certainly didn't sound like a lot of the bands that came out of L.A. at that time. So at times we never really fit completely in with either genre, and it was hard at times because when you have things that are hitting, and I don't want to say trendy, but to some degree they were, and you're not part of that, then you're not benefiting from that. And so that was sometimes our issue. But as time went by, we just kind of kept believing in what we were doing and the style that we wanted, and kind of figured we could do whatever we wanted musically. That was the kind of mentality we had then, and we have that even more so now. We certainly, I think, displayed that on our last record, Punching the Sky, is that we kind of feel like we can do anything. And having that mindset, it just broadens our style and pushes us to think that we don't want to be limited by any type of genre. So yeah, hard rock, heavy metal, soulful, bluesy. I think that's really the core of what we're all about.
John, like I said, I was fortunate enough to see the DVD portion of this release, and I've seen Armored Saint a couple of times when you guys have been in Wisconsin, and one of the things that I always love about an Armored Saint show is you guys seem to fire on all cylinders at every show I've been to, and especially on this DVD. You guys take a lot of pride in being a great live band, don't you?
Well, we love playing live. I always joke that we kind of started out as a garage band. That's what we did. We started out in the garage, Gonzo and Phil's garage, and we played in Dave's garage, even in my garage at one point. So that's kind of where we cut our teeth. That's where we started. It's funny because I think that sometimes we're a loose band, but we're always energetic and powerful, and you never know what you're going to get in terms of just the variety of the show. But, I'm always trying to push the guys to mess around with the set and try different things. I certainly don't want every show to feel like the same show repetitively. Like I always say, we're not a Broadway play here, we're a rock band, so I'm always looking to mix it up. Sometimes to the dismay of the other guys are like, oh man, that was good, now you're changing it. But I like doing that. I kind of think it keeps you on your toes. It kind of pushes you to kind of adapt, and I like doing that, and I think that's what kind of keeps us feeling like every show feels different, I know, of course, you can go from Milwaukee to Chicago to Detroit, and of course they are different cities. But some bands, I think, get into this repetition of doing the same set every night, and then it just becomes, second nature, and that's good. But it's like I said, we're a rock band. I don't want it to be limited to just saying, here it is, here's the same set, here we go. And I think by not having that mentality and trying different things, it could lead to some. You don't want to train wreck, because that could be really bad.
Yeah.
But I like at this point, because I always joke that with Pro Tools and with the way recordings are and stuff, everything is so meticulous and so by the book that I think that's kind of lost some of the edge of the rock and roll feel. And like I always say, I actually welcome mistakes, as long as they're not a major mistake where you're like, whoa, my God, we're all on different pages here, and we might have to start the song over again. That could be a bit embarrassing, but I kind of welcome it, because I feel like that's what people want. They want to feel like they're getting something unique. They're not getting the same show they got the previous night. They're getting something special. They're getting something unique, and doing those things, I think, makes the set just a little bit different from every other show. And when you do that, I think that's why that shows the fire of the band, because you're not just kind of going through the motions. And I think that's the key. So even though I think we're somewhat a loose band at times, I always think that we bring the fire, and I think that's the key.
Exactly. And, John, last time we spoke was for the release of Punching the Sky, which for me was my album of the year for 2020. Because of the COVID situation, you bet. I love that album. Because of the COVID situation, we didn't get to see a real tour cycle for that record. Now, when the band does hit the road, will you be playing some of the tracks from Punching the Sky, or will the shows with Black Label at the end of the year just be Symbol of Salvation live?
No. We did the Symbol Salvation live, and of course we're going to still play some couple songs from Symbol, but we are going to focus on Punching the Sky. We're going to play at least 4 songs, or at least that's my goal. Of course, we're going to play some other classic same tunes as well, but we haven't played any of those songs, so they're still feeling super fresh. We're hardly tired of them, because we haven't done them. We did one live stream performance, and that was it. So I'm really excited to go out and play a lot of those songs live, because I think they're going to sound killer. And I'm excited to do the Black Label shows. Zach Wilde is, he's a legend, and he's to go on to be able to support him and play a bunch of great gigs. And I mean, I wish it was a longer tour in the sense of getting to play places like the Midwest and the East Coast, but we'll take what we got, and we're going to make the most of it. We're playing the Wiltern here in LA. It's a great theater. I love it. I go to many shows there, and I'm real excited to get on that stage and play. And we're honored to be able to support Black Label and play with Prong, which is also another great band.
Exactly. And so, I mean, is it a little too early to ask, John, are there any touring plans for 2022?
There is plans right now. We have a tour that's in the motion. I can't mention it yet because it's not on sale, and I'd probably get in big trouble if I was like the first person to announce it. But we do have something planned with another band. I think it's going to be a really cool combination of bands. It's going to feel very old school, and I'm looking forward to it. And everything with the touring is everything with the world has been turned upside down. Let's face it. But we're trying to get back to normal, and and shows have been affected. A lot of stuff has been pushed back. So I will be a couple years older, but I'm still working out. I went jogging last night. I'm feeling good, health-wise, in terms of bringing it. And by the time we get on the road and do a slew of dates for Punching the Sky next year, I'll be ready.
Outstanding. Well, the new Symbol of Salvation live will be released on October 22nd, once again on Metal Blade Records, and it'll be available digitally on CD. And my favorite thing is this new craze for vinyl. And there'll also be some bonus tracks on this release, too. John, tell us about those bonus tracks.
There were songs that were written at that time. They're fun tracks to listen to because they were, like I said, they were during that era of the band. Obviously, we didn't think they were probably good enough to make the record, in all honesty, but they have their own charm. And I think it's going to be fun to hear them on vinyl, which is a trip, because that was one of the reasons we put it out. We put it out on DVD, some of those songs on the Not to the Old School Rarities record that we put out back in 1991, but they never saw the light of day on vinyl. So it's going to be cool to hear songs like People and Medieval Nightmares on vinyl. It'll be funny. So it's cool.
I'm looking forward to this release. And John, we're looking forward to you guys getting back on a tour, and it's always a pleasure having you on the show. And we always let our guests pick the song out of the interview. So what song from the catalog would you like us to play out of this interview?
Well, are we looking to go for a rocker, or are we looking to go for more of a deep track and a little bit more of an ambient song? You tell me.
Let's give them a little something deep. How's that sound?
All right, so let's go for Tainted Past. It's a great song, one of my favorite songs on Symbol Salvation. It was probably one of the last songs we wrote, and it does have Dave Pritchard's actual lead from the demo on it, so it's a special tune.
All right, well, John Bush, you are always welcome back here on Rock and Metal Revival.
Thanks for understanding and allowing me to finish walking my dog and picking up poop before we had this conversation.